What is up, Mouse fam? Welcome back to podcast 12. This week, we don't have one special guest. We have two very special guests. You guys will probably know them as the WDW Aristocrafts, but they are individually Daniel and Zach that come together to combine the WDW Aristocrafts. And as always, I have one of my honorary co-hosts over here, a fan favorite, Mr. Aesthetic Puppet. So Jay, as the co-host, why don't you get started and really quick, just let the viewers know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me. It's in my name there, Aesthetic Muppet. Mostly TikTok and Twitter and various other places. And you can normally find me around Orlando and, stop me and wave at me or call me something. I don't know, Tell me I like my face. It's fine.
Middle of September, if you want to find Jay, if you show up to HHN in Universal Orlando, he's probably going to be there. So if you're really on the lookout for Mr. Aesthetic Puppet, just head to Halloween Horror Nights and you'll probably find him there.
Or
call him anything, but just
40th.
Don't call him late 2 drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining me. And then down below, we have Zach and Daniel, WDW Aristocrafts. I don't know what order you guys want to go in, so I'll kind of throw it down to you guys. I know you live together and you're in separate rooms, so just going to give a little background there. But yeah, either one of you guys can start. Just, give a little bit about your channel and where everyone can find you.
You can do that, Zach.
So we are, I'm Zach, my partner is Daniel. We are the WDW Aristocrafts, which is a really unwieldy name, years after coming up with it, but we thought it was cute when we started it. Yeah, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc. We'll give Sean all the handles and links and whatnot, and we also do our own podcast, Don't Do Disney ... without us, which we also post on our YouTube channel and also where fine podcasts are served. I always want to say sold.
Yeah, they have. You guys have an amazing podcast. So definitely, and like Zach said, every platform. So I listen on Spotify, but you guys are on YouTube and everything. So yeah, find their podcast. I'll leave the links down below. And then Jay, the co-host, is an honorary guest as well on the on an unrelated note podcast, which is also on Spotify. So I'll leave all those links down below so you guys can check them out. And then also, Zach and Daniel, I know you guys do a bunch of different vlogs and stuff, but one of the things that you guys do that I feel like is a pretty, not popular, but like a niche that you guys have fit really well is pins. And so I know you guys are really big into pins. So if you just want to talk about that for a couple seconds too.
I mean, we started the channel as a pin trading channel. And then once the pandemic hit and we couldn't trade pins anymore, we had to kind of pivot to doing some other things. But we are slowly getting back into doing more pin trading on the channel, especially because the big Disney One family pin event was just recently. So we were able to go and do pin trading in person at a big event. That was fun. And get to see a bunch of our old cast member friends that are heavily into pins there. So, but yeah, we are primarily a pin channel on our YouTube, and then we kind of spun out into podcasts and other things as the pandemic hit. Wow, I just repeated myself. I'm sorry.
We pivoted as needed.
Yes, awesome. Sounds great. Well, yeah, definitely, viewers check them out, especially if you're into pins. They just had, recent 2 or 3 videos in a row that were really great pin videos. So check those out. And I don't know if you said this, Zach, but you guys are also on Twitter, which is actually how all of us originally met, is on Twitter. So make sure you give them a follow on Twitter as well.
Yes, we are.
All right, with that being said, sorry, Zach,
Nope.
Go ahead.
We are most active on Twitter. We have Instagram and
Perfect.
Facebook and all that, but I barely remember to post there, so
it's hard to take care of 4 platforms at once, but awesome. With that being said, we will hop into topic number 1, and this is being released the week after D23 Expo. So we've all had a couple days to process this. I know Zach and Daniel, you guys just released your podcast on it, and Jay, I've seen your thoughts on Twitter, but I just wanted to get our general thoughts, and I want to focus on Walt Disney World for this one. Obviously, that's your 3 home parks, and then we'll do another podcast later on Disneyland. So just kind of focusing on Disney World here for this. I mean, we can, branch out and talk about DCL or some of the international parks if we want to, but I just want to get your guys' kind of initial thoughts. I know where you're at, but maybe our viewers don't know where you're at. So Daniel, why don't you get us started? What are your general just takeaways from the D23 Expo, and particularly or specifically the Parks Panel from Sunday?
I had never watched a Parks Panel before, so this was the first year that I ever watched one live. So I didn't go into it with a lot of expectations. I felt like it was a lot of puffery, but kind of what was expected. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh boy, we got these great things and everything that we're going to give you. 3 announcements in, and they were just talking about meet and greets, which I don't really think is a huge, announcement. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it overall. I didn't hate anything they said. I enjoyed, I'm looking forward to a lot of the things that they're bringing. I'm also very, very curious about the whole blue sky stuff at the end, which I kind of feel was them kind of saying to people that, yeah, we know there's another theme park coming in Orlando, and we do have things on the table. We're just not ready to tell you yet. But by the time Epic Universe gets here, we do have some other stuff that we are planning on rolling out. So we have another D23 before that ever happens. So there's plenty of time for them to make those announcements. So I guess that was it. I felt like it was a bit too chatty for my liking. Like if you have a jam-packed slate of announcements, like I don't want to spend 5 minutes talking to Jon Favreau. So I want to hear the announcements, right? So, but it is
that's
what
an
it
interesting
is.
point, Daniel. Once we saw Favreau on stage, we were either going to get a massive announcement or we were just going to get a lot of fluff for a while. And I know you use fluffery in your
Fluff.
in your
Also, the one thing I don't know if
opinion on
anyone
that.
else
So it's kind of
noticed.
interesting.
I don't know if anyone else notices or not, but Kevin Feige was the only person to use a microphone. Everyone else had a lapel mic, and I'm like, why is Feige using a handheld mic? Like, why could they not fit a lapel mic on Kevin Feige? It's like, why did he have a mic?
Let's start this conspiracy online. Has anybody seen Kevin Feige with a lapel mic? Maybe he just likes a regular mic.
Yeah, because in the Marvel panel, he had a handheld mic too.
Yeah,
so it's just yeah.
Kevin Feige does not like lapel mics. I'm going to start that on Twitter later tonight.
There you go. That's right.
Like, we're just going to start that. We're going to start that.
The conspiracy is that they didn't have any plans, so they last minute said, "Hey, Feige, can you come on stage? Because we got nothing." No, I'm just kidding. That's right on the case.
No.
All right, Mr. Co-host Jay, what are your general thoughts on the panel and the just what was announced?
Well, I have to say, Daniel, Zach, and I had this conversation with Dirk last night a little bit about the panel. I'll be honest. I know we're talking about Disney World stuff. I liked all the announcements for Disneyland. I really like the announcements for Disneyland. I know that there's a lot of projects they have going on right now. I just felt like there was a clearer timeline on Disneyland projects than there was Disney World projects, and that's maybe that's just this D23, like we kind of talked about last night, catching Disneyland at the right time. I don't,
right.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Epcot is half torn up. It's a construction zone. Let's be honest. In the middle, then it's a giant mud pit in the middle of the place. So, what more are you going to say than, hey, next year we're going to have that hopefully done? People were looking for some other kind of announcement out of this thing. I don't know what they wanted out of the company at this point. I don't know. I saw comments on social media about people kind of talking about, well, you didn't announce anything else for Epcot's 40th or whatever. Look, all they need to do is focus on finishing the construction that's already taking place. At Epcot, there's nothing more to do. What were they going to announce? What would have made anybody happy? I can shoot in the dark and say, what? The Mary Poppins, bringing the Mary Poppins announcement back. Would that make people happy? Expanding the world,
that would have helped.
maybe, or expanding the World Showcase in different ways, but that's probably too early. I think they want to focus on, and Daniel put this perfectly last night, I think that their core focus for Epcot is to just focus on getting the construction done.
As it should be.
There's nothing else for them to do there right now. They opened Ratatouille there. They opened Cosmic Rewind there. There's nothing. I was actually, and we'll talk about this later in Good, Better, Best and all this other stuff, but I don't like the Blue Sky segment, but I think anybody that's been to Disney World in the last 20 years, let's just say 20 years, has stood in Magic Kingdom and goes, they got all this space. They should really do something with this. And it's just nice to actually hear them say it. Agreed. Even if it's not happening for 10 years, it's nice to hear them acknowledge, hey, we should probably expand the Magic Kingdom. It's the, look at people go there,
Again, because they did Fantasyland expansion, right?
Yeah.
And
again,
I don't know if you caught that when he announced it. He was like, he was talking to the guy that was talking to us. And he's like, you were in charge of the Fantasyland expansion, which up until now has been the largest expansion ever to the kingdom. So it's like, that was kind of like, oh, I see. So this is another huge expansion, behind Frontierland.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, the thing for me that I kept focusing on with the thing was like stuff we weren't hearing that they probably can't talk about. And we can sit here all day and talk about theoreticals. I have severe misgivings about Hollywood Studios more than I do any other park at this point.
But I feel like it's also important, like, they can announce things at any time. They don't have to. They're not legally required to only do things that they announce at D23, right? Like, they can make other announcements later, right? So
yeah, and Daniel, that's a really great point. And I was talking to a couple other people about this on Twitter, and I 100% agree with you. Like, the point you made, like, they can announce stuff later, 100%, and I think they will. But that goes back to my problem with this D23 is Disney's the one that set this panel up. Disney's the one that has a parks panel, and that's based on announcing projects. So you have all these T-balls, like you have Magic Band Plus at Disneyland, you have the Treehouse at Disneyland, you have, Moana Journey into Water. There are T-balls set up for you, softballs, that they just completely ignored. And so you're right, Daniel, that they'll probably just come out later. They don't have to come out of the expo, but it's a panel that Disney created and sells tickets for hundreds of dollars and opens up their security at 4:30 a.m. for a 10:30 a.m. panel. Like, Disney is the one that's setting these expectations. So I agree with you that we'll probably get stuff later, but yeah, it's just an interesting point. But Zach, what are your thoughts?
I think, especially given the past couple years and Disney's monetary situation, I mean, you can argue they did or didn't make or lose a whole bunch of money. Past couple years haven't been good, and Disney, like every other company, works years and years in advance. So the things that they announced this weekend were planned a long time ago, and we're just now seeing them start to spend real money in the parks again. So I didn't think going into this that we were going to get any major announcements, and we didn't. I don't think we're going to get any brand new projects, completely brand new that nobody's had rumors about until the next D23, when the world will hopefully not be in the grips of another once in a century pandemic. And I definitely agree that there were some softballs that they could, some easy things that they could have given people to, maybe assuage some of the, we didn't get anything out of this. But especially when you had Bob and Josh out there being like, this is a jam-packed panel, I'm going to have to talk fast, and it's the biggest D23 ever, and whatnot. And then, we spend 5 minutes just talking to Jon Favreau. And I keep harping on that because that's the only guest I can think of who was on stage. But I feel like
we had that lovely interruption by Mark Ruffalo that went on.
That's right.
Yeah,
like a half hour conversation with Mark Ruffalo.
I'm always interested, like the whole 90 minutes or what have you. I'm always interested in the decision making behind the scenes of how they decide what goes where, as far as how they present the panel. Also, what is going in each park. See, one of the things that I saw, at least on our side of this thing over here in Florida, where people were intrigued by, like, we can say that there's people obviously that don't like meet and greets and things like that, but announcing that Mandalorian, meet and greet, the first thing I was hearing and seeing on social media are people in Florida going, are we getting that meet and greet? And then be that disappointment of, oh, we're not getting that meet and greet. Now, I think there's something to be said for having things that are exclusive to one park or the other to make people visit those parks.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see that decision making.
So can I offer this up? Because I also thought about that, but then I thought the one thing that's different about our Galaxy's Edge in Florida is that we have the attached Galactic Star Cruiser, which is set in a very specific time frame, and Mandalorian is not in that time frame. So they have to be a little stricter maybe here to keep that land in that specific time frame.
So my compromise, and somebody had brought that up to me on Twitter, my compromise was put that meet and greet in the launch bay.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
Like, that would be the easy way to do it. I mean, he's not going to walk around like he would at Disneyland. And that's something that's probably exclusive to Disneyland. Or maybe he gets a special showing at, like you said, the Star Cruiser where he walks around or whatever. But I think that they could do those things. And I think people are kind of like, hey, why are we not? We have this launch bay. That's my whole misgiving with Hollywood Studios is like, if you look at that courtyard, it's like, what are we doing with the launch bay?
There. There's nothing there.
We're doing the same 3 meet and greets that we've always done there. We're doing Vader for the chase card holders or whatever. We're doing Chewie, and we're doing BB-8. And it's kind of been the same thing. They went away, they came back, and it's like, no, that would be a way to reintroduce it. You know?
Plus, we have that whole dead area where Ariel's used to.
Yeah, what are we doing with that thing?
Right.
Exactly.
Like, what's going on there? You know?
Yeah, that's bad. No, and I agree with all that, and I agree they need to make do with launch bay. But even with Daniel's, qualm with the Star Cruiser, Disney knows exactly when the Star Cruiser guests have access to Galaxy's Edge. So just make it when they're not there. I know they only have like a 5-hour period every other day. And so I feel like, it's an obstacle, but they could get around it. But
sure.
But yeah, who knows? Jay, earlier you were talking about Disneyland and how they had a more clear time frame than Disney World. And I wanted to talk about that too, because the things that Disney World did get, which are pretty cool, the Figment meet and greet, which they said, Damaro said not until the end of 2023. You announced an
Why are you getting a thumbs down?
I'm giving a thumbs down because I want the ride to be fixed, not the meet and greet.
When Josh Damaro announced there's this little purple dragon, I was sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm like, are they gonna do it? And then he said a meet and greet, and I'm like, my heart just broke.
I mean, that's good.
Zach, I'm so happy you said that, because that's exactly how I felt. And earlier in the day, Imagineer Zach Ridley had posted with a Figment shirt on.
That troll.
So already the rumors were going. And then, to your point, Zach, I think 90% the super nerd park fans like us, the second he said that, we're like, what? Just like the second Damaro brought up how he loves Animal Kingdom, and he had a big part in Pandora opening. I was like, so you're announcing Pandora expansion? And then just completely
no Pandora expansion. Or like, how about the thing at the beginning where Josh comes out and he goes, does everybody who's rode Cosmic Rewind, everybody like Cosmic Rewind? I was like, here we go, we're gonna get the Christmas playlist for Cosmic Rewind. This is what we're getting. And he just kind of like pivoted away, and I was like, what was that about? I mean,
now I'm spitballing and blue skying things. Easy wins they could have done. Refresh the Cosmic Rewind soundtrack quarterly.
Right.
Well,
Disney owns a whole bunch of music, so it's like the licensing shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's a meatball.
I was going to say they have the Christmas soundtrack coming.
Right.
Yeah.
And from what we were told, they tested 200 songs, 200 with the ride, and they chose 7. So, and supposedly all the songs in that exit queue are songs they tested. So they could easily do those songs. Like Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 works beautifully for that ride. Like Rick Astley, I was joking about it today on Twitter, but like Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. It works great for that ride. Like it would be amazing. Like,
we got rickrolled. That's for sure.
I'm gonna queue up 9 to 5 because if I get Congo one more time,
Daniel's just gonna put headphones in and just listen.
I'm just gonna put my ear pods in. I'm just gonna go Dolly Parton all full stuff.
I love it.
Very funny aside. I actually lost one of my Bluetooth headphones on Cosmic Rewind. I'm still mad about it to this day. But
why did you have them in?
I didn't. I had a little case. I have them in a case, and I dropped the case, and one of them popped down below. Anyway,
okay,
completely my fault. But that's just funny that you brought that up. But
But
yeah, Daniel, I don't know if it was you or Jay brought this up earlier, but it really felt like Damaro at the start was like, he said, I don't remember the direct quote, but he announced Happily Ever After, and he was like, I got to go quick. Like we have so many announcements coming, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like let's go. But then, as you guys all pointed out, they brought out Feige, they brought out Mark Ruffalo, they brought out Jon Favreau, and then they brought out Jennifer Lee and the other Imagineer that Jennifer Lee was with, or I don't know who the woman was, but
plus three musical numbers.
Brought out like 6 guests and just killed time.
Yeah.
So why was Damaro like, oh, we're in such a hurry?
Especially when it felt like the international park segment just was kind of like, bam, 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 we're done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now all they said about Shanghai was, we're getting some new villains. I'm sorry, I mean Duffy and Friends.
Right. Oh, and then I don't.
I kind of was like,
they started touching on Frozen, and just I know you guys already touched on this, but like just the way Josh Damaro was bringing things up, and maybe that's our excitement, but So, and then he brought up Frozen, and they show like the 3 lands, and I'm like, here they go. They're going to announce Frozen to maybe Disneyland or something.
Yeah.
And just nothing. And they barely touch on Frozen. Just, it was very interesting the way that Damaro was bringing things up.
I definitely want to be a fly on the wall when they're planning this. And I have to wonder if maybe there were things that they wanted to talk about that Josh wasn't sure he could bring up. And maybe some of the
Maybe
things
so.
he like kind of started to touch on and then backed away from were like somebody in his ear being like, you can't say that.
Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody here has ever worked for a really big company. I've only ever worked for a really big company one time. And it was so bureaucratic. Like there were just so many levels of things took forever, and it had to go through different layers before you could say something. You know, had to get approved by 19 different departments. And Disney is an enormous company. I'm sure that there's all kinds of things that they would like to tell you about, but then someone in legal is like, if someone bases their trip overseas based off of a date that you give, then we're opening ourselves up to a lawsuit, and so we can't say anything other than
Maybe.
late,
which is
2020.
probably exactly
Yeah.
why one of the things I saw when Dirk and some others asked, you know, what would make you happy? People saying concrete dates on things. I'm like, they will never give you a concrete date this far out, because
Right.
if you plan a trip,
Yeah.
like you said, if you plan a trip and then it gets delayed, you know, especially given how litigious we are as a society, somebody's going to sue over that.
What
Right.
about at least Fantasmic? Like, come on, you're ready to reopen it.
No,
Give us
yeah,
an
yeah,
opening
true.
day for that, for God's sake. That's
Well,
an
that's-
easy win.
Right. Daniel,
Yeah,
that's just another softball. And like, I know I agree with you guys. They don't want to give dates, but they've been talking about Fantasmic for 6 months. And same with Tron. Like, I know that they want to open it in 2023 because there's nothing else opening, and they don't want to give people the wrong date. But late spring 2023 for Tron, like, don't even give it. I mean, that's just crazy. And then, yeah, Daniel, to your point, Fantasmic, it's just another softball that
I think from
they
a
had.
I think
and,
from
yeah, I
well,
don't
it
know.
also goes from a large, like Daniel was saying, from a large corporate standpoint. If you like for the Tron situation, look at, I know we don't like it at this point. I mean, we're all joking about the dates and everything like that, but look at it from their perspective. They have the people that are coming for the holidays locked in already. There's no reason to
Yeah.
even if that ride is the concrete's poured, every walkway's done. I have a feeling that ride is going to be done before the end of the year, but they're not going to be in a hurry to open it because they don't have to.
Yeah,
It's
that's a good
better
point.
to get your DVC, AP, all of your early rides out of the way early next year. And then when the spring break crowd comes, March, April, then you're like, surprise, it's open. And that's when you want to really push on it. That's why it just makes it's smart business sense. You know?
January, February
No,
are slower periods, and if you
Right.
can do your AP previews and stuff during that
Correct.
time, then
Correct.
that's a
And
great.
we can
Yeah.
all ride it.
No, it's
37
100%
times or
accurate, and
whatever,
it's-
it's fine.
It's similar what they did with Ratatouille, where Ratatouille, it was open 6 months before they opened it.
Mhm.
But why, you have the summer full, so why open in the summer? Just wait until the fall starts. And one half of me goes, I like that because it makes sense business decision. And once the ride's open, I don't care, like it's open. But the other half of me is just so annoyed by or not annoyed, but just frustrated. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm very torn on that. I totally see why Disney's doing it, but it also just feels like something they would never have done in the past.
I always say that it's interesting the place that they're in. So we talked about the pandemic earlier and the money that, the place that they were put in, as everybody was during the pandemic. One of the things that's really buoyed their business is Disney Plus, and has given them a weapon, in essence, to they can hold up anything they want because they're not going to be bleeding money because they have this sword over here that's called Disney Plus. It carried them through the pandemic. It did wonders.
Right.
If they didn't have Disney Plus through the pandemic, I don't know where they'd be right now.
Absolutely. They got
lucky. I'm not
with
saying that they're
timing.
like, oh, they're mom and pop shop, they'll be out of business. But Disney Plus did a lot of work for them. Disney Plus was their workhorse during the pandemic. And it's carried them. And Bob knows it, Josh knows it, they all know it. And it's like, that's why people that complain about, oh, there's too much IP in the parks, there's too much IP. Look, the writing's been on the wall for a while. Like you take the IPs that you're pushing on Disney Plus and all the content, and you marry it with in-person experiences in your parks. That's what people want.
When I hear people complain about IP, and I don't want to get us too far off topic, but my initial thought is look at the opening roster of rides at Disneyland in 1955. You will be hard pressed to find a ride at Disneyland, an opening day attraction that was not based on IP from Disney. That was what Disneyland was created for, an extension of the movie theater, of the movie studio to get you interested. Like Sleeping Beauty Castle was built at Disneyland before Sleeping Beauty came out. It was like a hype about, hey, we're putting out this movie. It's called Sleeping Beauty. Here's, it's like, so I don't understand the hatred of, or this myth that Disney has never had. They've always had IP in their parks. It's always been very IP heavy, and that's what Disneyland is. So
do you think in the current market we're in, I'm just asking a question because I think we all know the answer to this. Do you think in the current market, the current reality that we live in 2022, that somebody walks in, an Imagineer walks into a boardroom and pitches non-IP stuff at this point in time and gets greenlit for like $50 million for a ride or whatever, $100 million. Like, do you think that happens?
No, and no one, and on the flip side of that, no one would ever pitch a movie idea, like an animated movie idea, that didn't have an A-list celebrity as a voice.
Correct.
Even though there's thousands of voice actors out there that could probably do a better job, but no, we have to have this. We have to have Jason Bateman.
Yeah, or whoever.
Yep. And I totally get why people are upset, because they go, oh, like we'll never get Pirates or Haunted again. And I get that, but like that's not the universe we're in anymore. Like Walt Disney is not alive anymore. Like that's just not the reality of the world. You don't have other major theme parks. I know we have like Dollywood and Knott's that are doing non-IP, but that's not the same.
Right.
Like,
I saw somebody
anywhere doing other parks, and they're the non-IP, and they're the only ones that are competing with Disney. So I see why people are frustrated, but I'm with you guys, Jay and Daniel. There's no reason for them to not do IP, and that I have I'm pretty frustrated with the Parks Panel as a whole, and the IP focus of it has zero to do with my frustration. Like that's the reality of the world. We have to live with that. If they're going to expand past Big Thunder in Magic Kingdom, it's going to be IP. Like that's just the way of the world. Magic Kingdom is an IP park. It always has been, always will be. So
give me cool, rides, fun things to do in an area with cool technology or new ways to see things, and make it fun. And I don't care. Like,
I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy takes away from the fun of the roller coaster.
Right. Correct. Correct. It would, if you slapped another one of Disney's IPs on that roller coaster, it would work too. That's not to take away from Guardians. But if you were to just pair it with another IP, you could physically make that work. Like it's not. And if
and if Cosmic Rewind didn't have the Guardians theme, you would be losing so many families that just wouldn't book it. And I know people point to like Mount Everest or Expedition Everest and other like Big Thunder and stuff, but those are completely different, because Expedition Everest A was almost 20 years ago, and B, that was back when Animal Kingdom was struggling so bad that any thrill ride or e-ticket they put in there was going to be huge. If Epcot didn't have if Cosmic Rewind didn't have Guardians of the Galaxy on it, I don't think it would get even half the fanfare that it got. And so that's just the way of the world these days. But all right, we're a little off topic and we're kind of behind time, so we're going to hop to the next topic. But I was going to say, Daniels, if you guys want to touch on anything that we talked about, our next topic is related to this first topic. So if you have anything else you want to add, just throw it in. So anyways, that brings us to our second topic, and that is, as always, good, bad, and great. We're going to keep it on theme with D23. So we're going to share our good, our bad, and our great of the Walt Disney World announcements. So, what did you like about it? What was your bad? And what was, something that you love? So Zach and Daniel, as our guests of honor, get started. We'll just go around. So Zach, you share your good, then Daniel, then Jay, then me, and then Zach, you share your bad. We'll basically just go around like that. So Zach, why don't you get us started? What is your good of the Walt Disney World D23 announcements?
So my good is the Figment meet and greet, because at least Disney realizes that Figment is Epcot at this point. Figment is as much Epcot as Spaceship Earth is Epcot, and Figment will bring people to the park for a popcorn bucket or merchandise or whatever. So at least they realize that if they don't have the money or the wherewithal right this second to redo the ride, at least bringing something Figment related will help. So that was good, even if the announcement itself did break my heart.
Yeah. And Zach, that ties into something you said earlier too about like, it's 2022 and COVID might not be as what it used to be, but the economic realities of COVID are 100% still here. You pointed that out earlier, Zach. So yeah, obviously when there's smoke, there's fire. And between the Figment popcorn buckets and the Figment merch and now the Figment, meet and greet that they're announcing, that's a lot of smoke for there not to be fire. And so I feel like that ties into where they're at economically and not being able to redo a ride without a sponsor, especially a ride that just isn't a big draw right now. So so maybe, next Expo or down the road, this meet and greet could lead to an attraction once they have more money, or an attraction redo, I should say. So
I
crossing
feel
my
like
fingers for that. But sorry, Daniel, you can go ahead.
No, that's fine. That was my good, by the way. Zach stole my good, so I have an alternate good, which is the return of Run Disney to Disneyland.
Yes.
Just because there's a specific medal that you can get if you run a Run Disney event on both coasts within the same calendar year. It's called the Coast to Coast medal, and the only way you can get it is by doing the events at both. And since I just recently signed up for the 10K Springtime Surprise at Disney World, now it gives me hope that I can maybe one day get that Coast to Coast medal. So
awesome! I didn't know that. That's great.
Also, I feel like the Figment meet and greet is going to shock you guys. Because I hope I'm right. I feel like, remember the BB-8 one where he's like sitting on a pedestal, but he's fully articulated? I feel like they could do that with Figment. With robotics now, you could have a really articulated, Figment that's being controlled by cast members backstage with all kind of gestures and could communicate with you. That would be an awesome meet and greet.
I'd like that.
If they're waiting 16 months for it, I'm gonna have my expectations somewhere around that level, Daniel. So, all right, Jay.
My good, I struggled with this because my bad and my great were easy. The good I struggle with, but I'm actually going to go with Tron, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people are down on it because they're going to say, oh, the dates and the times and everything like that. But we are getting closer. Anybody that's been in that park in the last 3 months sees as much progress as they've made, and we are getting closer to it. And look, spring of 2023 is better than it's better than before. And you can physically see the ride running, testing every day. When you go over there, you can see them testing it. You can see them pouring concrete. It's not long now. And I think people are going to be thrilled with the ride. I mean, it obviously tests very well in Shanghai. People rave about the ride. And I think it's a good addition to the Magic Kingdom, considering that they're going to be probably taking down, Splash Mountain around probably the same time. I would expect.
Right.
I would fully expect in the spring that they're going to kind of coincide once we get that attraction to kind of offset. But yeah, it's Tron for me.
Absolutely. Yep, that's a great point. Yeah, that's a good one, Jay. My good, I know we said Disney World, but I'm going to go a little bit off Disney World. But my good is the Disney Cruise Line's newest ship announcement. For those who don't know, I'm a travel agent, and Disney travel agents are obsessed with DCL. And so there's a rumor going around for the longest time that the new ship was going to be called the Disney Adventure. And I hated that name, hated it, because Disney's put adventure into every single one of their attractions. So I was so called the Disney Adventure. And then tomorrow gets on stage and goes, our newest ship is themed around adventure. And I was so mad. And then they threw a curveball and announced Treasure. And I think Treasure is a great name. So my good is the Disney Treasure. I think that's a solid name. It's not incredible, but it's solid. It's better than Adventure. And I do think that Adventure is a pretty fun route for them to take with DCL. So I was pretty happy with that announcement. So my good is the newest Disney Wish being called Treasure. With that being said, we'll get a little bit negative here. We'll try not to be too negative. But Zach, why do you get us started with?
I will definitely agree with not being too negative, because there's plenty of that, especially as it relates to Disney. My bad is going to be the return of Happily Ever After.
Damn it!
What?
You keep
That's
taking,
Wow.
You keep taking mine. Oh.
Jay has left the Millennium Falcon over Zach's bad.
What?
I touched on this. We both touched on this in our video that just came out about it. But
Great video.
Happily Ever After was a wonderful show. When it came back for the first time after going away because of the pandemic, we went to see it like 2 days afterwards, and I cried. I cried like a little baby. I love the song. I think the song and the show are both better than Enchantment, which I don't think is as bad as everyone makes out to be. But, Disney is moving forward. Josh Tomorrow said it a billion times. There's boundless futures. We're moving forward as a company, blah, blah, blah. And then the first thing they do is go and revive an old fireworks show, even if they are updating a little bit. Come on, come up with something new. If it falls flat on its face, at least you tried.
Yeah.
do not
I will-
keep bringing. It's like the Main Street
I will
electrical
say,
parade
Zach,
that just
I was
keeps
happy
coming
about
back
the
from the dead.
Right. No, Zach, that's a good point because I was happy about the Happily Ever After announcement, but hearing you talk about it, you bring up a great point because Tomorrow and Chapek and the Walt Disney Company clearly wanted to win with fans, and this felt like they're kind of like just toss up to the fans, like, here you go, like, please just don't be super mad at us. So it's a good point, Zach. Clearly, get the fans happy, but it did seem kind of like a cop out in a way.
Well, he stole mine because that was my bad. And for the same
Wow.
but for the exact
Wow.
same reason, I love Happily Ever After. I watch it on YouTube all the time. I crank up it on my headphones. I love that show, but I want to see something new. It's like I don't want you to go back to do it. It's like unless it's just like a limited engagement thing, I just don't see. Give me a new show. Give me a drone show for God's sake. I want drones. It's like they did them at Disney Springs for a couple of years. Anyway. But he stole my thing. So I don't really have a bad now, other than maybe that we just can't get the Hulk meet and greet here because that Hulk thing looked pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I know.
I hate that fact that we have that whole west of the Mississippi or east of the Mississippi.
And Universal will hold that over Disney until the end of time. They will never let go of those rights.
Well, I've always said
they will.
I
will say though.
I was going to say my biggest conspiracy theory.
Dave, my fault. I was going to say really quickly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say really quickly that, I'm so pumped about the Hulk thing and Project EXO. They've been talking about for years. I'm really excited about it. But Tomorrow had to slip in at the very end that it's only going to be for a limited time. So we'll see how limited Hulk is actually there. But
I think they're testing it. Yeah. It's still early on. They just showed that tech last year. Right. Some of the exoskeleton stuff that they were working with. I think that there's a million applications of that. You can do that. You can do the snow creature from Star Wars. You can do all kinds of stuff. I think that it's early for that tech. You could even do. In fact, I think that's probably the same tech they'll use. My big prediction for Disneyland is you guys are going to get when you get your e-ticket, you're probably going to get King Thanos too, eventually with that same tech. Like they are smart. Disney is a smart company. Obviously, they're going to get any large character you can think of. Yeah. You're going to, it goes well for the Thing too with Fantastic Four when they finally start doing that too. It's like, there's so many characters that they can add that to.
I think Abominable Snowman from Monsters Inc.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why not? Freaking take bring it out here. You know what they can bring it out here? Just, remove the Yeti from the mountain at DAC and just have a guy in there just doing the thing,
they can't do that.
I know, I'm just making a joke.
That's awesome.
So you wanted me, am I up? Bad?
Yeah, you're bad. Yeah, it's your bad.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. So I came down to I got down to 2 and I thought one was like generic because everybody was talking about it. Like when I first sat down to write the list, I was like, I'm going to talk about the Blue Sky segment, but we kind of drove that into the dirt, right? So I had to pick something a little bit more obscure that kind of flew under the radar because everybody's really happy. There's so many people that are so happy about Happily Ever After coming back. And people forgot that they said that the best fireworks show at Walt Disney World, Harmonious, is going to go away for how long? We don't know. A temporary time? Forever? And that led to toxic online conversations. You saw them everywhere. People were like, I hate those barges. The barges are gone. Hallelujah. People were
barges ain't going anywhere.
Like, I don't think the barges are going anywhere. I mean,
I don't think they can.
I mean, the barge is not going anywhere. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I feel like, and we talked about this last night. I feel like what's going to happen. World of Color changes all the time, but they use the same hardware and everything. I feel like that multi-million-dollar investment they made in those barges and that tech that they have out in the lagoon, that's going to be the new show. That way you can refresh the nighttime show more often. It's going to be Harmonious, 100 years or something. It's going to just like World of Color, World of Color, colon something. Yeah. I feel like they'll probably just use that as a platform. So it'll be like Harmonious, 100 years of Disney, or
that's
Harmonious.
Fine. I think that I just really love the opening of the show. Like so much.
Yeah.
Like
I love Harmonious.
Yes. It's amazing. It blew me away, when it first debuted. I I didn't understand the people that were incredibly online in the first night that were saying, "Oh, well, it's not Epcot, it's not this." I mean, I love that show. I could see it every night, and
That show is Epcot through and through.
That show is amazing.
You know what? Here's I think the problem is the Disney live streaming people are so monumentally bad at live streaming.
Yes.
They change camera angles at the wrong time. They show it's like and it's like
that live stream was pretty bad.
So your initial view of Harmonious, if you watched the Disney live stream that night, was, oh, this is kind of lame, and you had to go back and watch someone else's YouTube video from a fixed vantage point to go like, oh wow, this is awesome. You know.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, so that was mine. I'm really concerned about Harmonious because you know that's mine.
That's really funny. It's really funny that 3 Walt Disney World regulars that are there all the time, and all 3 of your negatives were related to the 2 shows that they announced, which is kind of the only thing that Disney World really got, if you think about it, in terms of grand scale things. And also, I find
hold on, we're getting Tianas in 2024, just like Disneyland. So we are getting. Well,
sure, okay, things that we didn't know about, I should say. We already knew about Tianas. You're right.
We're not getting the restaurant or the shop or anything.
I'm mad about that. I want a good New Orleans style restaurant that.
We're not going to. Yeah, we're not going to get those things, but we'll get the.
Hey, you guys got to come out west. Got to come out west for that.
So we can have some mint juleps without alcohol.
Hey, man. Got to have it Walt's way, okay? But I find it funny that the 2 shows that Chapek had a hand in directly, that he publicly stated he had a hand in, Enchantment and Harmonious, and the first D23 Expo, they announced that both of them are being reimagined. It's just kind of funny. Yeah, it's interesting. But my bad is actually kind of probably going to be shocking to people, but my bad is the Hatbox Ghost announcement for 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm a huge proponent of attractions being different on each coast. I totally understand that that's privileged that I get to visit both coasts, and most, Disney fans or most the families from Denver don't get to visit both coasts. So I understand that's privileged, but I like attractions being unique, and I like saying, hey, if I go to Disneyland, I see the Hatbox Ghost. If I go to Disney World, I get the stair scene or whatever. So I'm annoyed by that. And number 2, I just felt like it was a softball that they kind of came up with last minute to appease the fans, but it's not really a big announcement. Like, you're adding an animatronic to a ride that already has, dozens of animatronics. That shouldn't be like a big announcement. And I feel like they kind of prepped it at that. And so it's not like a negative thing, like I'm not annoyed about it, but I just felt like I'd rather them keep each attraction unique. And that just felt like a softball that they didn't need to give. So
I actually, in the same vein, I actually think a bigger announcement would have been, if you were going to say in that same vein, was giving us the holiday overlay.
Yeah.
Would have been the bigger announcement. I mean, that just feels like the Hatbox Ghost. While I like the Hatbox Ghost, I don't have a problem that he's just. I didn't have a problem. He was just at Disneyland. I didn't. Right. That's fine.
They're fixing an issue. Yeah, they're fixing an issue that I feel like didn't exist, but it's not a big deal. But I mean, it's a parks panel, so it's hard to come up with a negative. Most of this is supposed to be good news. So, but all right, that's enough of being negative. There's enough of that on Twitter, and to be honest, I don't like to be negative. But even my Twitter is pretty negative towards that parks panel. So we'll go back to being positive. Zach, get us started. What is your great from the parks panel?
If you steal mine, I swear to God.
And we did not discuss these ahead of time, so
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
My great is the fact that at the end of next year, Epcot is not going to be a freaking construction zone anymore.
Okay. Amen.
Yeah.
Allegedly, assuming they're able to stick to that timeline.
Prices and participation may vary.
You better knock on wood, Zach.
All right. My great was as hokey as it sounds. When I look over the top of Big Thunder Mountain and I see that little valley with them all celebrating Dia de los Muertos, that made me super excited. I love Coco. I love that movie. I love everything about that movie. And to have a ride, based on where you could fly through the land of the dead or whatever, it would just be awesome. That made me really, very excited. So I think that was great.
And the fact that they're not taking the easy way out and just reskinning the
Rivers
Grand Fiesta Tour.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Amen.
Grand Fiesta.
Yeah. Yep. Couldn't agree more.
All right, Jay, what's your great?
I'm up. So this is again, Josh couldn't hit softballs the other day at D23, so I'll hit softballs and I'll say happily ever after. That for me, because I love Happily Ever After. I was, and I'm going to ride the line here because similar to what you said or you guys said earlier, I actually think that they have kind of been careful with their language of saying that the song is returning. I actually think they're going to open the show with the traditional opening of Happily Ever After, and they're going to close the show with the Tinkerbell scene with that whole, but the middle will be new. Yeah. I actually think the middle will be new.
And Josh did say that it's going to be an updated nighttime show, but everybody ran with Happily Ever After as it was in 2019 is coming back, which is not true.
There's so there's a couple of, and I can't quote the creators, so I apologize right now. There's a couple of videos floating around out there on TikTok and a couple other platforms, and you can find them pretty easily, of people who filmed Enchantment in its current version and overlaid other soundtracks on it, mixes of other Disney music. The fireworks are not the problem.
No, the fireworks are great.
The arrangement is the problem.
Agreed.
If you see it with different arrangements, like there's even been people that laid it over with the Happily Ever After, like the whole throughput, like the whole show. And it actually is the arrangement. And they could do another arrangement. I think people just want the scene at the beginning, and they want it at the end, and in the middle, they can feel free to do whatever. In fact, I think the Walt and Roy scene is going to stay. I think that'll stay. You know, they'll put that in. I think that they may do different songs and things like that, but like I think people will be like, yay, Happily Ever After's back, and it'll be like, well, technically the song is back and we get to see the Tinkerbell part at the end, which everybody loves. You know, I
feel like the projections on Enchantment aren't as spot on as they were in Happily Ever After worked with the architecture of the castle.
Correct.
Whereas Enchantment just feels like they're just using it like a movie screen. And
well, you know, and certain songs worked really well. Like doing adding stuff from like Hercules and stuff like that in the show at Magic Kingdom was amazing. It always, and the way the arrangement was is where it kind of went from the villains soundtrack into the Hercules music, where it just feels so hopeful, and it just transitions with the voice of Mufasa, and you know that whole thing. Like, I know why they removed it, because that song moved into the Harmonious, medley. And they were like, oh, we can't have it in both places, but like, I thought that was a major mistake, like a very minor mistake. But that was like, I was like, that's really the moment of that show that it really kind of like crescendos to the end. Yeah. And it's like, it makes you feel something. And like, there's no kind of crescendo in Enchantment until Angela Bassett comes back. And then I kind of get more excited. I'm like, yes, Angela's back, and then it gets really good. But like, there's kind of like a disconnect there. But I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy that they're bringing the song back, because everybody likes it. So hopefully, like Zach said, they grow it and they do something new. They don't have to just I don't expect them to bring the whole show back, because that would be strange.
I keep noticing every time I drink my beer that the label is straight out. I'm sorry. I'm just
it's sponsored by.
They're not sponsored.
This podcast sponsored by Miller Lite.
Not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored. No, Jay, I feel like that would be best of both worlds, because to Zach and Daniel's point about the bad, it does feel kind of just cheap and lazy. But if they use Happily Ever After because they know that the fan base loves that song or loves that soundtrack, but redid the middle of the show, that really would be best of both worlds, because now you're still being creative and giving us something new, but you're also still honoring to what we know, and you can still advertise it because people have Happily Ever After. So that'd be pretty solid. And if you look at sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was saying, I just, my closing thought is like, look, I want Disney to, people know me and if you see my Twitter, if you follow me there, I don't take half this stuff seriously. As serious as I want chaotic Disney. That's what I want. I want them to embrace the fans, but in a chaotic way. So I want them to be like, when we want Happily Ever After back, we get the song at the beginning and the end, but we get something else in the middle. I want them to, all the people that are complaining about the barges at Epcot and stuff, I want them to run a new version of Illuminations on those barges just to make those people mad.
Don't you dare.
Like, I just want them to do it.
Ever.
I want, and then last but not least, I want them to bring back Rivers of Light.
Yes. Please.
Bring back Rivers of Light.
Animal Kingdom needs the nighttime things, and I can totally see them bringing a parade or some sort of updated light show that doesn't suck.
Build the barges there.
Fireworks.
Put the barges there as well. Put the barges in Animal Kingdom.
We have so many hot nighttime spectacular takes in this podcast. I don't think we're going to be able to handle this.
I'm not a The barges don't bother me at all. I think people are being ridiculous about them.
I
All
agree.
right, so Sean, what's
I'm
your
opposite.
great?
Daniel,
What's
I'm
your
opposite
great?
you there. I'm going to be
What's your
contrarian.
great, Sean? What's your
No,
great?
The great is that the barges might be going. Holding out all hope. Not going. Okay, let me discuss this. I love the barges during the show. I think the technology is genius. I 100% agree with you guys that they're not going to invest in those and get rid of them. I think everything about the barges, the second it gets dark out, is totally. But I think during the day they are hideous. And if they found a way to get the budget back to ship them off during the day or get the water fountains working that they promised us for so long, then I would be okay with it. So a new Harmonious gives me hopeful that they can either get that water fountain going or find a way to do something with the barges that they originally had planned.
To be fair, and I rolled my eyes when you talked about the water fountains because I'm so friggin' tired of people saying that. They work sometimes.
Sure. Okay.
I want them to show cheap movies on the screens during the middle of the day. That's what I want. I want to drive in. That's what I want. I want them to show Star Wars: A New Hope. Just throw again. I want chaos Disney. I just want them to show this random.
We're gonna go see a movie. We're going to Epcot.
All right, back on the rails. That's not actually my great. My real great is the Dinoland expansion. I'm with Daniel that I'm pumped about the Magic Kingdom expansion, but I feel like that might be a little bit farther down the road.
Oh yeah.
Than Dinoland Expo. As annoyed as I am at the curveball of them, faking us out with saying Dinoland and then saying we don't know yet, I'm very excited that they recognize that Dinoland needs work. I don't love Zootopia and I don't love Moana, although I probably better than to work with the fauna aspect of it. But yeah, I'm glad they recognize Dinoland. We'll see what happens there, but that's my great. All right, that is enough. Yeah. Sorry, you have a comment?
Well, I was going to say the Moana thing. If somebody had said to me on Twitter, if you give us the Pirates of the Caribbean Shanghai tech with a Moana boat ride, yeah, I'm good. Like that's
I don't understand Zootopia. Zootopia was made over $1 billion. It was one of the top 5 animated films that they've put out in the last decade. Yeah. So, and top 6 of all time that they've put out. So it's like, I know some people have problems with Zootopia, but Zootopia is immensely popular worldwide. So, it makes sense to base IP on that. So.
Yeah, immensely popular, and would be a huge draw, and they would be able to market it to families, but I don't think it fits for the same reason that Joe Rody talks about, but that's another topic for another day. And honestly, if Land, I'll take Zootopia. It's very, very, very low on my list, but it's higher than what is there currently. And I do agree with you, Daniel, that it would be an instant hit in terms of marketability. So, but anyways, that's a lot of, D23 talk. I'm sure we could talk for hours about it. And all you viewers, follow us on Twitter and follow, the Aristocrafts on YouTube because there's more discussions about it there. But we will hot topic and we'll move away from D23 a little bit. For those that don't know, Zach, Daniel, and myself, our favorite park at Disney World is Animal Kingdom. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not true. Only one of you has Animal Kingdom as your favorite park. It was my favorite park as well. So we're about half here, 50%. Anyways, we're gonna take a look at our top 5 best things to do at Animal Kingdom. Everybody knows about Flight of Passage. Everybody knows about Everest. So we can talk about the obvious if you want. But we're gonna try and focus on some not as common or more under the radar aspects. We're trying to go a little bit quick here because we're running on time. So maybe just one sentence about your top 5. But Daniel, why don't you go to just start this time and then we'll go counterclockwise. So Daniel, Zach, me, Jay. So Daniel, what's your number 5?
All right, right across from the Starbucks in Animal Kingdom, there are 2 adorable little tamarins that you can sit there and watch for a long time. And I'll give you a true insider piece of information. Their names are Draco and Amber. And they do know their names. So anyway, but they're adorable little tamarins that they have there. So that's that, and you can watch them for hours. That's number 5.
Fantastic. All right, Zach.
Satuli Canteen, which is perhaps obvious because it's one of the only quick service spots in the park, but it is one of the only quick service spots in the park that can be made to fit almost any dietary restriction that you may have, and it's really, really, really good food. So probably one of the best quick service on property, period.
Agreed. Fantastic answer. My number 5 is the Wildlife Express train. I don't mean Rafiki's Planet Watch because I don't think that's that great, but the specific train that takes you there, I feel like, is super underrated. I'm a big fan of trains, and it just kind of goes with the Disney aesthetic with what Walt wanted and just slow moving people movers. And it takes you get to see a little bit of backstage. And if you're lucky, you can see some pretty cool stuff. And it's got a good queue too. So the Wildlife Express train doesn't have a great destination, but the train itself is really good.
So
Mr.
Zach,
Aesthetic Puppet.
Zach took mine. I was going to say my 5 was Satuli Canteen as well. I think it's the best quick service in the park.
Cool.
Hands down. So
Amen.
he said
Agreed.
everything I wanted to say. So
All right, number 4 is, and you're gonna have to help me with the name of it here. It's the birds in front of the Tree of Life that they'll come out every the macaws, and they'll fly right over the top of it. It's
Winged
called
Encounters.
Oh, yeah. What is the name
Winged.
of that?
What is it? Winged. You said
Winged
it.
Encounters.
Winged
Winged
Encounters.
No,
Yes.
yes.
It's
Yes.
really
Yes, that's correct.
It's
Bonus
super.
points, Zach.
Yeah, it's super cool. You can stand there in front of the Tree of Life, and all of these macaws come flying in from out of the sky over the top, and and then when they leave, they fly right over your heads. It's like it's really it's a cool little show that you can do.
I'm really happy you brought that up. That's a great one.
My number 4 is something that wasn't so obvious until Disney Food Blog ran a video and wrote an article about it and made it stupidly popular. And now you can't get in because it's, AJ Wolf decided to write about it. Nomad Lounge. One of the best lounges on property. Great food, great drinks, if you can manage to get a seat.
Yep. Amen. I wish that it wasn't so popular because that is amazing. All right. My number 4 is Creature Comforts. I promised myself when I started this channel, I would never talk about Starbucks, but I have to say Creature Comforts is the best theme park like third party that anyone's ever done. You barely know it's a Starbucks. It's super well themed. It never has any lines, especially in comparison to Starbucks at the other parks. So I don't normally love going to like a third party when I'm at a theme park, but Creature Comforts knocks it out of the park and has really, really good service in there. And it's never that many lines, and it's got good theme. So Creature Comforts my number 4.
So my number 4, and I wanted to choose like obscure things because it's the predictable stuff's going to be at the top, but I'm going to choose Mr. Kamal's fry cart, the little fry stand.
Oh,
I love
wow.
Mr. Kamal's. I love those, that silly little fry stand. Like, just the fries are delicious. Like, they're always hot. Like, it's just, there's never a line there. You can just go there and get a basket of fries and just walk away with seasoned fries. It's amazing. It's, I love that.
That is a great answer.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Great
my
answer.
my number 3 are the otters, presented by Otter
okay.
Case.
So cute.
Love the
but
otters.
You can see them not only from above, but you can go down into the little cave and see them from under the water. And there's, I think, 5 or 6 of them there. They're always like doing things like otters do, and they're super fun to watch. So
Love them.
Cute.
My number 3, Sean already stole. It's the train ride to Rafiki's Planet Watch because you get to see parts of the park that you normally don't get to see, and sometimes you'll get to see the animals while they're backstage. We saw shortly after he was born, we saw Ranger back there just getting some cared for before they put him out onto the safari. So the train ride to Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Definitely a hidden gem. All right, my number 3 is the Flame Tree Barbecue seating area. Flame Tree Barbecue itself is also really good, so I'm not excluding that from my answer, but particularly the seating is like 5 different like levels, and none of them are ever full, even on like the busiest days. It can be harder to get the seating area right on the water because that's a little bit more popular, but if you go there on an off time, you get seating right by the water. If not, there's like super well themed areas, and I'm just a sucker for like themed areas that are off the beaten path, and that's kind of rare at Disney parks these days. But Flame Tree Barbecue seating area is one of the best, and it's always really quiet there too. So that's my number 3.
yeah, it's huge, but it always feels kind of private, even though it's huge.
That's a good point. Yeah. Great little spot. So my number 3 is kind of like a general area that kind of encompasses 2 locations, and that is where the Thirsty River Bar is and the Anandapur ice cream cart. I love that little area outside of Everest because like I'm either at that bar, like getting drinks, or I'm getting ice cream, like the specialty ice creams that they do. They did a Yeti one recently that was really, really good. Like
They've had the Yeti one for like 3 years now.
Yeah, and they mixed it up a few times. They had a strawberry one recently, like a strawberry and lemonade one like 6 months ago or something. But there's always like some kind of specialty there, or I just get regular ice cream. It's just nice to sit there by, and you know, if when Kite Tails was running, it was nice to sit there and just watch the kites or whatever, you know, and or just, you know, go to that bar there. That's the I just like that little spot. There was like something for everyone. I like that spot.
And it's close to the bathrooms.
Yeah, that's true.
My wife, for anybody that knows my wife, she's obsessed, like literally obsessed with ice cream. Like she will, if like we don't plan dinner, she'll have ice cream for dinner. A non-damper ice cream truck is her #1 ice cream on any Walt Disney World park. So big credit to that.
Love it.
Cool. All right, #2 for me is the animation experience. So if you take the train that everyone has been talking about up to Rafiki's Planet Watch, you can go in and have a Disney animator teach you how to draw a specific character, and you get to keep the drawing that you make. They give you the pencil and the clipboard, and you get to keep the drawing.
You have to return those.
Yeah, but you get to keep the drawing. So it's a fun little thing.
Only if you don't believe in yourself.
Daniel,
they have cast members sitting right there.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm just joking.
I'm glad you touched on it, Daniel. But the only reason I disagree with you is because I think the one at DCA is like 10 times better because it's a permanent area. If they made that area permanent at Rafiki's, I would agree with you.
It is better at DCA, but that's a long way away from me.
That is very true.
Good point.
My #2 was also the animation experience at Rafiki's Planet Watch. My only qualm with it is that I wish there were a way to find out what character you were drawing before you took the train up there, because it's a pretty lengthy round trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a line at the station coming back. I mean, yes, you can go pet the animals at the petting zoo, but you know, it's still 10-15 minutes up there, 10-15 minutes back if it's a character you've already drawn. But yes, not enough people go do that, and I think they should. So
yeah, now that's a good point. I don't know why they don't just put a board in the massive queue area for the train to just say what character's coming next. Also, my other qualm with it is it's on Genie Plus, which I just think is so like borderline scummy, because if you don't know, you're going to go get it, but you would never need a Genie Plus for it ever, even on the busiest day. So I'm kind of annoyed by that, but that's neither here nor there. My #2 is Yak and Yeti, and I am including the restaurant and the to go, which I think is just called Yak and Yeti to go. I'm not 100% sure what that
Yak
is
and
called.
Yeti Local Foods Cafe.
Thank you, Zach. Zach, that's 2 for 2 off the spot. I love it. So anyways, yeah, the Yak and Yeti to go, what Zach said is incredible and like really good, but the actual restaurant itself is some of the best themed table service restaurants that also has high quality food. Usually a themed table service restaurant is usually going to be pretty poor quality or just average, or it's going to be extremely expensive. But Yak and Yeti is pretty affordable comparatively, incredible theming, and amazing food. So Yak and Yeti, super underrated.
It's not a Disney restaurant, it's a Landry's restaurant.
It's a Landry's restaurant.
If you join the Landry's Club, you can get priority seating. And
I was just about to plug it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you join, you can get the seating.
Landry's card just for that.
Yeah.
Also, one more really quick, one more on top of that. If you're a Costco member, Costco oftentimes has crazy discounts on Landry's gift cards. So you can sign up for the Landry's membership.
Win-win.
Go get a discount from Costco, and you'll be eating cheap at Yak and Yeti.
Man, now I want to go to Yak and Yeti.
Because I've found the couple of times we've been to Yak and Yeti, the food has been very, very good, but I feel like it's a bit more expensive than, I mean, your only other real option for sit down in Animal Kingdom is Tiffin's, which is signature, but it gets up there.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Sure, maybe
you're
I'm
right.
just used to the discounts.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
maybe.
we didn't know about those before today.
Sir.
Jay, what's your 2?
My my top 2 are really like kind of generic. They're kind of like, yeah, of course. I don't think anybody mentioned like an actual ride yet, so I'm going to do it. So I'm going to mention Flight of Passage, just for the fact that, you know, it's Flight of Passage. I mean, at the time it came out, it was revolutionary and people loved it. And Sean's heard me tell this story. I told it on another episode. I took my father on it last year for the first time ever. He has never been on anything like that in his life. And I think he made the cast member's life like entire day, week, year coming off that ride, because he like ran up to her like to give his glasses back. And he goes, "That is the best thing I've ever rode in my life. I was born for this moment," is what he told her.
Oh,
and he just thought it was the most amazing thing ever. He was just like, it was crazy. So, that's a special moment. I love the ride. I love the queue. I love everything about it. Obviously the wait was terrible a couple years ago, obviously, when it came out, but like it's gotten better over time. It's pretty manageable these days, and you can normally get it on any regular day visit. So Flight of Passage.
I'm very sad.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
I'm very sad because Flight of Passage is one of those rides that I rode once and will never ride again.
But you rode it once.
Yes, but I didn't get to see the footage because the combination of the bike moving and the wind and the water and the screen and the 3D glasses on top of my glasses and the motion sickness through my Dramamine was like I got off and almost puked, but I didn't. But
no,
that sucks.
I wish for Flight of Passage they would do what they do for the Nemo subs in Disneyland and the Castle Walkthrough and a couple other rides where they have like a room that doesn't have like the effects and everything, but you can just kind of like sit and like watch the footage. I wish they would do that for Flight of Passage.
Yeah, they should.
All right. Well, my number one is something that is often overlooked, but when you come off of the safari, if you, instead of going to the exit, take the other turn, you can go to the gorilla trail and you can see a family of silverback gorillas and they're playing around there. They're doing all kind of cool things. And they're fun to watch. I like animals. So
man, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great pick.
That is an amazing pick right there.
Make me hate my number one.
My number one is an attraction, actually. It is Kilimanjaro Safaris, and that is because you can ride that thing every single time you go to Animal Kingdom, and it is never, ever, ever going to be the same ride twice.
It's great.
Time of day, temperature, weather, everything's going to come together to where even if you ride it and you turn around and get right back on, you'll probably still not have the exact same ride. And I still don't think we've seen everything there is to see on the safari.
No. It's amazing. Yeah,
I've said many times on my channel that Kilimanjaro Safaris, is in my opinion probably the number one most underrated ride among like Disney super fans. If that ride wasn't at a theme park, like if you just went to like a random state to ride that, it'd be like a $40 like attraction and it'd be worth it. And it's just with the cost of admission.
I think it's Joe Rohde's love letter to himself.
Yeah.
It's his legacy. I mean, in a way.
Yeah. Although keep in mind that Rohde's initial version of it was heavily scripted with
of course. Of course. I mean,
yeah,
of course. But like I'll always associate it with him. I mean, just like the park in general. But yeah.
Those aren't real baobab trees.
Oh no.
One thing is no matter what driver you get, they have to point out the baobab tree. And
I know.
The ones that are made of concrete.
Yeah, if you go eat in Tiffin's, you can actually see them being made out of concrete.
I have another slight qualm with Kilimanjaro Safaris. If you guys have ever watched, I don't know if it's Behind the Attraction or Imagineering on Disney Plus. It's one of those two shows. And on one of the episodes, they have a whole episode about how they built the fake tree that has the lights, so they can do the safari at night.
Oh yeah, it was on Animal Kingdom. Yes, the Animal Kingdom series.
Two shows. The Animal Kingdom show. Yeah, that's narrated by Josh Gad, I think. Anyways, or maybe it wasn't. I don't remember. Anyways,
yeah, it's Josh Gad.
Still to this day, since COVID, they've not had the nighttime safari. So this whole big tree light that they built up. So I do want to see that, to Zach's point.
Yeah, I've never gotten to see Pandora at night with the illuminated pavement and whatnot because Animal Kingdom closes at like 6:00.
Yeah, it's a true shame. True shame. That's my least favorite part of Animal Kingdom. But all right, and not to go off topic again, but earlier Zach and Daniel, you guys pointed out how badly Animal Kingdom needs a nighttime anything, show, parade, whatever it is. And I know that it's a problem with the noise and stuff, but if they did get that, it would really help Animal Kingdom at night. All right, my number one, pretty general, but Streetmosphere. I feel like this is the most underrated part of Animal Kingdom when like tourists call it a half-day park. I don't think they understand how much Streetmosphere there is, whether it's the dancers or the drummers or what's the tree girl at the start? I don't even remember her name.
Divine.
Thank you, Zach. 3 for 3. Divine. Just so much incredible Streetmosphere. It's just so easy to miss, and they don't even really advertise it, which I like because you can just kind of stumble upon it. So that's my number one with Animal Kingdom.
Nice. Okay, so my number one, somebody already mentioned it, but I'm going to do it anyway again, is Nomad Lounge. You know, my number one is
Yeah.
Nomad Lounge because
If you know Jay, you probably already saw that coming.
yeah, it's Nomad Lounge. It's, I mean, what more can be said? You know, the little offerings of food that they have and stuff are great. You know, drinks are great, atmosphere is great.
Yeah.
I could sit in there all day. I could
Yeah.
sit in there. I could lose a whole day there.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
I feel like AJ from the Disney Food Blog told everyone about it, and now it's impossible to get in there. You have to get on a wait list.
It's
tougher.
weird. So I went the last time I was there. I was there with Nick and Ashley from Mouse Vibes, and it was really strange because we kind of just walked in, and there was like, oh, there's like a little, you know, there was something available, and sometimes you can catch it on days like that where you're just like, oh, look, there's stuff over there, you know, like it. But a lot of times you're right, you can't, and you were like in there doing this number, you're like.
Yeah.
Doing one of these.
And I will say they're not great on trying to fit as many people in. They'll kind of,
right,
let you wait there and sit. So Jay, I'm shocked you didn't mention Dawa Bar, and I'm also shocked that none of us four mentioned the crafts, might be the wrong word for it, but the like craftsmanship stuff that they have for sale, and the CMs that are working there. Like I'm trying to remember the location where it's at. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, like right out in front of the safari where they're making the.
Is it? No, it's over by like. Gosh, I get so turned around in my head when I'm not there. But
I will tell you. While you're thinking about it, I didn't choose Dawa Bar because I always associate Dawa Bar where I get drinks at like 1 p.m. in the day where it's like 98 degrees and it's just like, oh, it's too hot for this. Like, you know, I like Dawa Bar, but it's usually like associated with me being sweaty and too hot. You know, like.
Totally.
You know,
well, I can't think of where that crafts. I can't get the name of it, but there's an area where they have people making like actual like crafts and merch that you can go buy, and they're like literally hand making it there, like hand carving it or whatever, hand painting it. And I think it's over by the tree to the right of the tree. But I don't know exactly, so someone in the comments can let me know. But anyways, that's another really underrated part of Animal Kingdom. So. All right. Well, that is our list. You guys can let us know down in the comments what you think. I'm pretty sure that Daniel won the top 5 for today. But if you guys have any other thoughts, you can let us know down in the comments.
I didn't realize it was a competition.
With that, we'll hop into our 4th topic. And our 4th topic is getting to know the guest. So obviously today we have 2 guests. So Zach and Daniel, you guys can kind of, bounce off each other as you already do on your own podcast. But just let the viewers know, your Disney story. So maybe how you guys met or how you came in fall in love with Disney, how you started your channel. I know you already talked about that a little bit before, Daniel, but the floor is kind of yours. So, talk about whatever you want to talk about, but just your guys' Disney story.
We arrived at our love for Disney in 2 very different ways. So I am a native Floridian. I was born and raised in Plant City, Florida, so just about an hour away from Walt Disney World. So my very first trip to Walt Disney World was in December of 1971. I was 3 years old. But there's a picture of me on Main Street under the Christmas tree with my dad holding me there. Nice. So I have been at Disney World since they've opened. And, as a kid, when we skipped high school, that's where we went. We went to Disney World. Zach and I met when I was living in Connecticut and he was living in St. Louis. We both were playing World of Warcraft at the time. We were on the same raid team, and we ended up getting to know each other that way. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, one thing led to another, and we ended up moving to Georgia together. And then we moved back to Florida, and I introduced Zach to Disney, which I believe at the time he said I've only ever been to Disney World when I was a kid, and I don't know a lot about it. It was just Epcot and the Kingdom, right?
Yeah, it was 1995, so just Epcot and the Kingdom.
And because we had, met during World of Warcraft, Blizzard has their big convention in Anaheim every year called BlizzCon. And so we had gone, Zach went to Disneyland before he ever went to Disney World as an adult. So when we were out at BlizzCon, we went out to Disneyland and everything. So his first Disney park as an adult was Disneyland. So... Anyway.
We're going to talk more about World of Warcraft one of these days. I didn't know that. Thank you for giving me that fact. We're going to talk about that way more offline, but go ahead.
Yeah. In fact, this picture right here is because I played a druid bear, so it's a guardian tank. So that's a guardian symbol.
I also played druid. Let's talk about it later.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what that poster is right there.
I have one on the other wall of one of the other walls in my office. That's my main spec. I played a discipline priest. So
I love it. That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Anyway, do you want to add anything, Zach? I mean, we started our YouTube channel, what, 3?
We started our YouTube channel 3 years ago after we had, gotten into watching other Disney YouTubers. And someone who shall remain nameless, and Daniel, had the idea of starting a channel just to see if we were to ever get recognized in the parks.
That's true.
And it happened. It has happened multiple times. It happened one time when masks were a thing, mandatory indoors. Somebody came up. We were at the pin store in Epcot, and somebody's like, "Hey, are you the Aristocrafts?" And I'm like, "Wait, you can't see our faces. Are our voices
they
that
recognize
distinctive?"
they recognize our voices.
They saw your eyes. It was enough.
Yeah.
Like,
No, my favorite time was when we were recognized and we were with much bigger YouTubers, and people recognized us instead of them, and I was just like, "Ha!"
Wow.
But no, I one of my favorite things about our channel and doing what we do as a hobby, this isn't our day job. We're probably never going to monetize, at least anytime soon. We're relatively small fish, but it's like I love getting to meet people and sharing the hobbies and sharing the interests, and letting that help form friendships, because I mean, making friends as an adult is really hard, and having some sort of common interest that you can go bond over drinks at any one of the 5,000 lounges on property is good. So I'm glad that we got into it, because it's opened up a world of really awesome people. I mean, there's a lot of crappy people in the Disney community, but we just don't associate with them.
There you go. And now you know everything you need to know.
Awesome. Well, I love it, guys. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I mean, I feel like most of my followers probably already know you guys, so this probably isn't speaking to many people, but if you don't already, please go subscribe to them on YouTube. I actually, for the longest time, thought your guys' name was WDW Aristocrats. I just missed the F for up until last year. So WDW Aristocrafts on Twitter and YouTube.
We started out
with that.
We wanted to do some DIY stuff, and we've kind of moved away from that, but that's kind of the brand at this point, and rebranding's a pain in the butt, so we're probably just going to stick with it.
Of course.
Totally fair. All right, that brings us to our last topic number 5. You guys are not off the hot seat yet. In fact, your seat is heating up. I'm going to throw some surprise rankings at you both. And since there's 2 of you, there's 2 different rankings, so I'll throw one at one of you and the other, so you guys can kind of be thrown off. So Daniel, I'm going to have you go
steal
first.
Daniel's answers.
Yes. So Daniel, I'm going to go to you first, but Zach, I'll go to you after this, so you can think of an answer too. You'll just have a little bit more time than Daniel.
Oh, I get time to think.
So Daniel, I need your top 3 in order from 3 to 1 favorite theme park rides. So it doesn't have to be Disney. Favorite theme park rides of all time, 3 through 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll give you about 10 seconds. Jay and I can do the little Jeopardy music.
No pressure whatsoever. Number 3 would be Pirates of the Caribbean in California. Number 2 would be the Incredicoaster, in California.
Okay.
Number 1 would be Expedition Everest.
Nice.
Okay, 2 comments. Number 1, this is my 12th episode, and I was easily the fastest anybody has ever entered the rankings. So I'm very impressed you came up with that. Second, no one has ever had Incredicoaster. I think 1% at Everest and Pirates at Disneyland's a pretty common answer. That's in mine too. But Incredicoaster, I've never heard that in anybody's top 3. That's a very interesting one.
The first Disney coaster to ever have an inversion. Well, the first U.S. Disney coaster to ever have an inversion.
Was Indy and Paris the first?
No, I think Space Mountain in France.
Oh, okay.
Has an inversion.
Yeah.
Wait, did Incredicoaster or whatever it was before Incredicoaster
California
exist
Screaming.
before Rock and Roller Coaster?
Yes, California Screaming existed before Rock and Roller Coaster.
Open in 01. All right, Zach, you are next. From 3 to 1, your favorite theme park attractions of all time.
Oh, damn it.
Also, Daniel, while Zach thinks, I'm very shocked and impressed that you had 2 California answers in your top 3. I would have thought you'd have Disney World more in there.
The thing about Walt Disney World, while Zach is thinking, the thing about Walt Disney World is we're an international park, so they kind of cut the stories sometimes. We just kind of get the middle part of the stories.
Yeah.
I was an adult before I realized that what the full story to Pirates was, and it was by going through the California ride and going,
Right.
oh, I get the story. I understand. Dead Men Tell No Tale. I get it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, it's like
Right.
It's a great ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent, as I said earlier in the podcast, of rides being different. But Disney World's Magic Kingdom is a perfect example of like different not being better, because it's literally half of the ride.
No, I agree.
ride. And also,
All right.
Flip It is how I feel for the version of Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain at Disneyland, I never understood the story. And then I wrote it in Magic Kingdom. I was like, oh, there's a story that like makes sense.
Yep.
So anyways, all right, Zach, you ready?
Yes, mine are all Disney rides because honestly, until I went to Disney, my exposure had been Six Flags in St. Louis, and I couldn't tell you a single ride at that park. So number 3 is going to be Kilimanjaro Safaris for all the reasons I already listed. It is one of the best and most underrated rides on Disney property. Number 2 is going to be the Haunted Mansion. Our version, because honestly, I've only been on the California version once, and I don't remember anything about it because it was the holiday overlay, so I've never actually seen the original, the normal Disneyland Haunted Mansion, because it tells a story but leaves a lot to the imagination and lets you fill in some of the gaps. And it's haunted and scary without being jump scary. And like I will never be able to do Halloween Horror Nights because I'm a wimp. So that's as close as I'll come. And number 1 is the Jungle Cruise because I love puns and I love playing along with the skipper and getting into it and just watching the faces of the people around me as they realize just how many times I've ridden this ride. And yes, I can quote the entire thing front to back. And it's just fun, even if, your skipper can make or break because you're oftentimes relying on a college kid who may or may not have the comedic timing needed to land the jokes.
Zach, are you referring to Disney World in that answer?
Yes, again, because while my first trip was to Disneyland, it was 5, almost 6 years ago at this point, and I barely remember that trip. So we're looking at planning a trip out that way next year. So I'll hopefully get to re-experience everything and experience it with the full knowledge of what goes into a Disney park, because when I went to Disneyland in 2017, it was the first time in almost 20 years.
Maybe we'll all be out there at the same time.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, whenever you guys are going down, let me know. We'll plan a trip. I find it super interesting.
Run Disney 2024.
Ooh, hey, there you go. I find it crazy that you guys had no same top 3.
I love roller coasters,
I assume you might have one, but
no, I love roller coasters. Zach has motion sickness and can't ride roller coasters.
Sure.
Sure.
So Everest and Incredicoaster are definitely not going to be in Zach's top 3.
No, I will walk you all through the queues and then wait at the exit for you.
That's nice.
Well, in that scenario, Zach, I think that Everest would be higher on your list because Incredicoaster queue is just brutally bad. Yeah. Everest queue is actually pretty solid. So actually really solid.
Everest has a really good queue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. You guys are not off the hot seat quite yet. One more question. Zach, you get to start this time. Daniel next. The one attraction that you have never been on that you want to go on most. It can be like a ride that hasn't opened yet, or a ride in another country, or a ride, just any ride that exists in the world that you want to go on the most and you've never been on.
Daniel,
Zach, you can start.
Mystic Manor.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Love it.
Mine is the is it Shanghai's Pirates that has the crazy underwater and the boats back up and stuff like
Yep.
Yeah.
Both good picks. Those are amazing picks.
I think you guys just named 2 of my top 3.
What was your honorable mention, Zach? You said
whatever park it is that has the Beauty and the Beast ride with the really articulate animatronics now.
That's Tokyo.
Shanghai.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is it Tokyo?
Is it Tokyo? Yeah, Tokyo.
You guys just named like 3, probably like my top 4 or 5. Those are absolutely incredible answers that I don't think anybody could argue with. Shanghai Pirates is heralded as like one of the best rides ever, and actually so is Mystic. So those are great answers. All right. Well, Daniel and Zach, thank you so much for joining us. And as I've already said like 3 times, please, everybody, make sure you check them out. Their podcast is called Don't Do Disney, space without us. I don't think it's dots, but that's how I read it in my head. I always think, man, don't do Disney, like that's kind of egotistical. Then they add the without us. So pretty smart. So make sure you guys check them out.
Yeah. I was gonna say the idea was we were trying to people that are very negative about it was like, oh, don't do Disney or whatever, and we wanted to just kind of play on that, just like, don't do Disney without bringing us. We want to go.
Yeah,
bring us.
I like it.
No, I love it, and it's truly, guys, it's a great podcast. I mean, I listen to it every single time, and you guys also have a great YouTube channel. So, and my favorite part about you guys, and I'm not, on Twitter, obviously, like, it's okay to be negative. I'm not saying like nobody can be negative. It's totally okay to be negative. I'm negative about Disney all the time. We're a passionate fan base, and you're passionate about the things you love. I know you guys aren't as into sports, but like a sports team, like somebody watches every game their sports team plays, even when they're the worst team in the league. So that's how things go. But my favorite thing about you guys positive side of it, especially on Diz Twitter, where that's very much needed. So you guys are a definite must follow. So everyone make sure you follow them. And then also, my co-host Jay, who is the honorary co-host, the most talked about co-host, because this man comes in with absolute truth. So everyone make sure you follow Mr. Aesthetic Puppet on Twitter and TikTok. Jay, you are Aesthetic Puppet on TikTok, right?
I am Aesthetic Puppet on TikTok. You can go see my Bugs House video from HHN. It's, I don't know. Who knows? People keep liking it. I don't know why.
No, Jay's a great TikTok and great Twitter follow. So, if you follow me already, just type in WDW Aristocrafts. Zach and Daniel pop right up. Same with Jay. So, guys, make sure you follow them. And thank you guys so much for joining me.